Okay, welcome back to one of our course management lessons, and here we are at Horsley Lodge. I've not done one of these for a while, so it'd be good to go through some new courses. So we've got the first at Horsley Lodge, which is a par 5. Now we're using the Pro Visualizer software for this, and you can see that the furthest line here is the 230-yard target, and we're kind of saying that the player, this is suitable for an 18 handicap, an average 18 handicap, hitting the ball around about 220 yards with their driver, and also hitting there with the 7-irons around about 135. So if you're looking to get to 18 handicap, if you're starting out, if you've been playing for a few months, this could be a good video to hopefully knock off a few scores. Let's get into it. We'll talk as we go. So we've got par 5. This will be off the back pots, and one of the most interesting things about this button here, which is the dispersion, is that we set this up to the Pro's dispersion, but 60% more. When I just press this button, it's going to give us a rough dispersion of where the balls will go if you were as good as a pro plus 60%. And if I measure left and the right there, from the furthest left to the furthest to the right there, we can see that that is 64 yards wide. And believe it or not, tour pros hit their balls into around about that kind of distance. So for a tour pro, that it wouldn't be quite as short and far, but we would see the dispersion to be somewhere within the 60-yard fairway. And that's one of the main things that, as I've gone through this golf course, this Horsley Lodge golf course, is that some of the fairways are pretty tight. So if we look at that, take a step back and look at that through from the hole, we can see that, I've set us up for a 3-shotter. We've got a 220-yard tee shot. Then we've got a 156 second shot. And then we've got 95 yards. Now all of the targets for this hole would be on the right because it's sloped down, but I would say that if you manage to get 2 straight hits on the first 2 shots of the day, get this on 4-3 if you're an 18 handicap or an aspiring 18 handicap. And I would play in that and actually setting the target slightly right of that, so that none of these balls, when we press the dispersion button, none or very, very few are into the trees. I should just catch up there. So hopefully that just goes through some of the basics of this software. And the second target, I set that second target. Now I'm going to go a bit quicker as I go through the rest of the holes, but hopefully you're getting the gist of it. We're looking at about a 70-yard wide gap, and if it's shorter than 70 yards gap, then you know that chances of you hitting that fairway are going to start reducing. And it's whether you want to take that risk. Let's move on to the next hole. Hole 2. So we can see here the yellow. So we can see that. And there we go. So 230 yards leaves you 113 into the hole. What can we say about this green and this hole? Well, if we measure out the fairway, I think we've got 33 yards. So I do think this is probably driver. And the reason I think it's driver is you've got a 50% chance of hitting this fairway. If you hit the 50% chance and you're lucky, you've got it to get up the green. Water's on the right, tricky green. But if you do hit it into the trees, it's a relatively simple layup short of the green or chip out to then manage to get up the three. So I do not think this is worth playing too conservatively and hitting it high enough the tee. This is one where you can go for it. Yes, if you hit it bad, you've got 50% chance. Chip it out and knock it on and try and two-putt on tricky green. Third, tough hole. Just to press this dispersion, you've got 160 yards uphill, and I think that's being generous for how close people will hit this shot for 18 handicap. I'm going to build that up a little bit. So you had 100% on. I think that's probably still being generous. So a 4 is not a bad score, is it? If we're trying to shoot 18 handicap, if you're not liking a club that you hit 160 yards, which is going to be what, 5 wood or maybe a 4 hybrid or even 3 wood at times, then just laying up short of the green and playing that on for 2 point is not a bad decision. This is a cracking little hole. This is where we may have a little bit more of a chat. One thing we can get from the bird's eye view is that all the danger on this hole, especially the green, short and right, we've got the water, we've got some trees overhanging if you hit it down the right, and this catches a lot of people out. It's playing 10 yards shorter down the hill, and I would say that this is one where it doesn't really pay dividends to play too conservatively off the tee, which is another bit of a theme that we're starting to get. So I do think it would be a long club, maybe driver, maybe 3 wood into this area, which is the widest part of the fairway. Left, at 8 aiming left, that's 50 yards. So we've got a fair chance of hitting that. Aiming left of the fairway, just because it opens up a little bit more over here, and then it takes away this tree. Now for the second shot, then you've really got a decision to make. So if you do hit the good shot, I would be trying to make the ball finish long and left, and keeping away from all the water, all the bunkers, on the left. Some of the tricky green. If you don't hit your target of the tee, then I do think that this is where we need to take the medicine. A lot of players are not very good at this. We hit it down the right and try and go for it. Hit the string going water. This would be one way. Again, you go aggressive off the tee, driver, but if you don't put it in the perfect position, it's either laying up your second shot short of the green, or it's really bad tee shot short of the water, which only leaves you in 105 yards. And there we go, let's move on to the next hole. Just to reiterate, this is for 18 handicappers. If you want me to do another video for a different handicap, then let me know. So tough hole. If we did try and get this green in 2 shots, bearing in mind it's uphill, we're going to be landing in this area. Let's just measure that now. So from here to the green is 200 yards uphill, probably 210 yards. The chances of you hitting that shot are very, very slim. So this is why I'd recommend for this hole, just playing the hole backwards, like we've said in previous videos. Play the hole backwards in your mind. What would you like to be hitting into this green? I think if you could hit 200 yards off the tee, 130 yards for your second shot, and then 70 yards on, I think that would be the play. Next hole, 18 handicapper. How often players do not do this, but just being realistic with your ability. 230 yards, 205 yards. You're going to be around about this distance. I'm sure if you're 200 yards. So what does that leave? What does that leave it? We know that tour pros hit into a 70-yard wide area on average. Right? You've got 182 yards. Let's actually look at what dispersion you've got. You've got 13 yards. The chances of you hitting that from 200 yards onto the 13-yard area is slim to none. And that's why I would recommend playing that one. Yes, you can hit driver, it's fairly wide, but you only need 124 for your second shot and then 70 yards for your next shot. A lot of the 18 handicappers can hit 120 yards, 70-yard shots pretty well. They're easier shots to hit. They're in the capabilities of the shorter clubs. Moving on to 7, another tricky hole. We say we measure from the tee to where your scratch handicap players will be hitting it down to here. But they've got 270 off the tee, 280 off the tee. Then to measure from there to the green, we've still got 154 yards, which is actually a pretty tough pin to hit into, downhill. Very hard to stop that ball. And that's why I would recommend just playing this as a 3-shotter. Maybe 3 wood, but still probably driver. And then being conservative with your second and third shot. And that's definitely a theme that I'm starting to notice with Horsley. Some of the other courses that we've looked at, it's really about being conservative off the tee and thinking in advance, a bit like the first at Morley Hayes. Don't need to hit drive off the first because it puts you into trouble. You've got to make a hard decision. What you need to do by the looks of it on the front line of Horsley is take the driver, but then instead of trying to go for that 200-yard shot, you need to play a sensible shot, 130 yards, and then pitch it. Moving on to 8. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? If you hit a wonky shot off the tee, then it's a layup, and we're just trying to get it into this area so we can chip on. But would I recommend many players hitting an 9 off this tee, playing for a 5? That would depend on how confident you feel you are hitting your driver or hitting your woods that day. I do not think there's anything wrong with playing up into this area, which is only 46 yards, and then playing the next one with a wedge to this area, so target 2, and then playing up. If you played that as an 18 handicapper and you hit 160, 90 yards and 50 yards, you're going to walk away with 5s a lot of the time. You're not going to walk away with many birdies. You're going to reduce those big scores, and that's one of the main things that we're trying to do. 18 handicappers. You do not play bad for 18 holes. You play great for 6, play okay for 6, and then you have a mare on 2 or 3 holes. This way of thinking reduce those chances of those big mares. Also knowing it, when you stand on that tee, if you're an average driver for an 18 handicapper, you're going to hit it into about 100-yard space. So knowing that, you're only going to hit that fairway with your driver 50-60% of the time. Maybe if you're a good driver for the ball, maybe a little bit more. The majority of balls are finishing over here on the right. And then it's really about taking your medicine, chipping out, and then going. Hole number 9. Another great thing about this Pro Visualizer and the Google Earth software is that you notice that some of the architecture is fantastic. Standing on this tee, you don't want to hit it into the clubhouse, and it's quite intimidating. It's a big building. And what do we all do? We leave it in the bunkers. It's uphill. It's not actually safe. It's the wrong. Just get rid of that. Okay, so what we're playing, it says it's only playing 1 yard uphill, and that may be from the back tees. Let me just set the tee position to there. It's still only playing 1 yard uphill. If you can be long, I think that's the shot really, isn't it? If you can hit a shot long off the back pots, set that tee position off the whites. Can you hit a driver there? I would guess not, and that's when I would set that first target short and then chip that on. Are you going to make many twos? No. You chip a couple of threes, and you're walking away from with a 4 and avoiding those big scores. Okay, I think I'll leave it there. If you want me to do a back line for Horsley, then let me know. And I hope that helps. So then the main themes are, we do want to be pretty aggressive off the tee. There's not many chances where you can play conservatively and it's going to benefit you. Although if you don't hit that perfect drive, you need to make sure that you're not trying to go for the green on many of the holes. And even if you do hit the perfect drive on a lot of them, it's still about playing a wedge short and then the wedge on. Okay, thank you very much.